Welcome to the Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am your host, Anna Love. Wild and Free was born to inspire women to release old patterns that have kept them from living their best life. As a subconscious freedom specialist, I strive to reprogram and reframe generational trauma, not only in myself and the lives of my 3 daughters, but for those who are ready to transform anxiety, fear, and shame into authenticity, freedom, and love. Whether you are 20 years old or 70 years young, buckle up for raw and honest explorations in doing the work necessary so that you may shine your brightest light from your heart and onto the lives of others. Welcome to Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. Today we are talking about your inner critic. Now, some of my listeners may not be aware or understand or have ever heard what the words inner critic even mean. And some of my listeners may very well know what an inner critic means. And when I say the words inner critic, it is very obvious as to what I'm talking about and how the inner critic runs your life. So let's dive in. The inner critic is that little voice inside your head. That is not you, that is your thoughts. So we oftentimes mistaken our inner critic as being who we truly are. Our voice inside our head is attached to beliefs or thoughts, an inner chatter that has been there a long time. Now, it was created because, like we usually talk about inside this podcast, because of things that we have heard modeled. Maybe your mom or your dad used to say things on repeat. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? That used to be something that I would hear. Now, if you find yourself saying money doesn't grow on trees 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later, and you haven't taken the time to ask yourself, where did this come from and why am I saying this? You can follow it back on an unconscious level. If you do hypnotherapy or if you do a process that brings you back in time, your unconscious mind actually stored that information of when was the very first time an event where you heard the words, money doesn't grow on trees. This is insightful information because once we find out where the root of the inner voice was created, the decision was made, the belief began, we can go back and we can undo it. This is so exciting. I don't know if anyone else just got excited by what I just said. But when we are going through our day and we wake up and our inner voice starts talking to us, if it is criticizing us, if it is talking negatively, if it is judging us, guess what is happening? It is creating fear. It is creating a sense of worthlessness. It is telling us that we should not or could not take risks. And it is keeping us small. It's holding us back. Okay? Now again, the voice is not us. It is a voice that we hear in our head and we get it twisted. We think it's us. We think that we need to listen to that voice because we think it's coming from us. It is not. It is coming from a past program. And that voice is actually helping you. It believes that it's keeping you safe. It believes that it's protecting you. It believes that it has a job to do. Now, when we follow it back and we trace it back to an event in the past, there may have been something dangerous that occurred or scary, and it was real. No one is detracting or taking away from you as the self version of you, as the competent person who stands before yourself in the mirror, the true you. No one is saying to you to forget about that ever happened or, hey, that never happened. What this conversation is about is how we can create new meaning around what actually happened. So if something occurred in the past that really stuck in your body,
and it feels like it's still there. That is not only going to come out in the way that you walk, you talk, it's going to come out in the way that you interact with other people, in the way that you make decisions and choices in your life, whether they're little decisions or big decisions. And your inner critic is going to be there doing its job, saying, hey, don't forget what happened to you a long time ago. That was so bad. Don't you remember how bad that hurt? Remember, it's linking up with the feeling in your body. So the mind chatter inner critic is linking up with that traumatic feeling that has been stored inside your body, and they're working as a team to keep you safe. Now that sounds great on paper, but it's not real. It's a false perception of reality. And this is where we need to sort and sift out what choices are you making in the present time that are actually linked to a feeling from the past or an event from the past or an old belief that is outdated. Something that happened to you when you're 9 years old or 10 years old, that's long gone. It's in the past. And that feeling of scarcity or fear or regret or shame is still living in the body, and it has the accompanying words to match it. Don't do that. Don't forget how bad that was. You shouldn't do that. Don't you remember? You're not good enough. You're not worthy. It's not going to work. Don't you know that you're not good enough for that? That voice is talking, and it feels so real. It feels real because it is in our body as unresolved trauma. Now, what we can do are several different things. On a conscious level, which means that you are aware when you hear that inner voice, you say, oh, I just heard it. I heard it talking to me. And I'm acknowledging and accepting that that's not me. That is fear from the past that's trying to keep me safe here and now. And what I'm going to do to pattern interrupt this voice, this is what you're saying to yourself. It's this, you come in with another voice and you say, that's not real. I acknowledge you. And we're doing this a different way today. We're not going to be doing this anymore the old way. There's a new sheriff in town. Not to sound corny, but you are the controller of you. There's a new sheriff in town. We're not doing this anymore. I'm going to say no. I'm calling bullshit. This isn't real. Here's what we're doing instead. And then you start to create a new narrative. You start to create a new mantra, a new affirmation, however you want to label it. You're creating new words. The old words are disempowering. I'm not good enough. So you're going to create the opposite of that. Either way, you are creating. Your mind is creating either way. So let's create something empowering. So step number one, when you are hearing the mind chatter and the voice come in, the inner critic, the negative Nelly, you get to say, I heard you, and we're not doing this today. And you replace it with something that feels authentically you, that feels empowering. Now, I may say something to you right now, like, yes, I can, and that may not resonate with you. You may need to hear, I am enough. You may need to hear something different. But I want you to create a positive wording. So you don't want to come in with more negativity. You don't want to say, hey, shut up. Because that's not respectful to you or to that voice. You want to treat that voice and acknowledge that it was helping you. It believes that it has a job that's keeping you safe and keeping you out of trouble. So you're acknowledging, you might even say, thank you. I acknowledge that I heard you. And we're going to reframe that right now. And here's what we're going to say, and then come in with something more powerful. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear a comment. Go ahead and subscribe to this. If this sounds like something that you have been dealing with your whole life, but you never had a name for it, or maybe you knew it was your inner critic and you knew it was negative, but you just kept doing it anyway because you didn't know any different, let me know. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. I'd love to hear your comments because this is really important. This inner voice and inner dialogue we believe is us, and it's just simply not true. When you listen to your inner critic, you begin to overthink. You start to second guess yourself. You stay stuck in fear, and you're actually rejecting your inner knowing. You are defying the very parts of you that intuitively know the next step that you need to take. You are not trusting yourself. And look, I've fallen prey to this as well. There were many, many years and even decades where my intuition was overridden by my inner critic. It's just a habit, and it was a bad habit that I would constantly second guess myself. I would feel that I needed to take a step in this direction, and then my inner critic would come in and offer its opinions, and it would start to put doubt in my mind. And I would actually start to ask other people what I should do, even though I already knew. So it created a distrust in myself, and I lived a very confused existence for some time. I didn't know how to follow my internal guide because those inner critics were so strong and overpowering. And the program of that habit had been going on for so many years. The critic drowns out your inner knowing by making a lot of noise. And that noise not only comes in the form of the voice that you hear, but it also will manifest in your body as a pain or an alert system. So it may give you a headache. It may start to give you chest pains. It may give you tension in your back, neck, or shoulders. These are all red flags that something is off. Having a conversation with that voice that you hear and realizing that your intuition is the authority. It is a part of yourself that is fighting with another part of yourself. And one is driven by fear and one is driven by an inner knowing. But when we drown out our inner knowing year after year after year, we forget that we have an inner knowing. And we just continue to make choices in our life that keep us small, hold us back from the very reason why we are here, from our true purpose. Another step that you can start taking control over that inner voice would be breath work. Now, breath work will pattern interrupt your nervous system. It'll start to regulate your nervous system. When you do different types of breathing techniques, it will immediately change your state. Another technique could be EFT tapping. Now, we're not going to go over the ins and outs of EFT tapping here and the ins and outs of breath work and all the different examples that are out there. We will save that for another podcast, or I have different resources available that go over these. Right now, we're just calling attention and awareness to the steps that we can take to intervene with that inner critic so that we are living a joyous life full of potential and connecting at an authentic level, not only with ourself and our knowing, but with the people in our life. You want to ask yourself, is this really true? When you hear that inner voice coming in, talk to it. Is this really true that I can't do this? Is this really true that this event in front of me is dangerous, or this choice is going to go down and take me down a bad path? Is that really true? Intuitively answer that question and then move forward with whatever you're going to do next, the steps that you're about to take. Move forward intentionally and by allowing your inner knowing to guide you. When you respect and honor your inner guide, you start to strengthen your courage. Your intuition is on fire. So when you say and tap into that intuition, you strengthen it up so that it will be there for you next time, even easier to access. you become more authentic because your power lies and your trust lies in connecting with that inner knowing, that inner guide, that source, that light. That one doesn't have a voice, it has a feeling. So I want you to ask yourself, check in with yourself. What are you hearing now? Check in with your inner critic. Is it talking to you? Is it trying to dissuade you, trying to talk you out of something? Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to next time. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.
Join me for a free transformative masterclass where I'll guide you to design your dream life. You will learn about your unique blueprint and how to shift your reality. Ready to take the next step in designing a life you love? The Life Design Blueprint membership is your all-access pass to exclusive tools, live guidance, and transformational support to help you move from self-doubt to self-worth. Building on the principles from the Design a Life That Lights You Up ebook, this membership is a deeper dive into creating a life that aligns with who you truly are. You will go beyond surface level self-help with hypnotic techniques and live discussions that create real lasting change in your mindset and life. You will receive ongoing support from me and connect with a community of like-minded women on a similar journey. Each week, I deliver an empowering hypnosis which offers a unique way of working with your subconscious to reframe limiting beliefs, elevate self-worth, and reinforce positive habits. All of our sessions will be recorded and added to our on-demand library for easy access to members. Join me by clicking the link below, and I'll see you on the inside. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Wild and Free with Anna Love and being a part of this magical journey with me. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and share with someone you love, even someone you just like. Bonus points if you leave a review. Show notes below gives you everything that you'll need to know, and I'll see you next time. So long for now.